Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. That is Jack. I am Conrad, and this is the 45 with our Week 11 review. No need to review records because we didn't get any wrong, because we didn't pick any matches.
100% in an optimist size.
Amazing. It's amazing. It's amazing how right you can be when you don't pick any matches. We've been time challenged this week, so no opportunity for us to do a preview, just a review of all 10 matches in rapid fashion here. Starting off chronologically, Bournemouth home to Manchester United with the 1-0 win off of the Josh King goal, where United just decided we're not going to play defense.
And this was United allowing them to score. And they felt bad for Bournemouth. They hadn't scored in 6 hours of game time. And so it was like, you know what, guys, just take
It's
one.
crazy.
And it was bad defending from Wan-Bissaka as well as Maguire. And I think that United will be very disappointed to have allowed that one to go in, especially from your two high-priced signings. And should have been a lot better defensively there, but still can't create. And without penalties, United struggle to make chances that really give you a good percentage of a goal score opportunity.
100, yeah. That's crazy. So many of their chances have come from penalties. I didn't even think about that. The rate at which they're drawing them is
And
insane.
they're good in that regard, but when you aren't locked down defensively and you can't score, you lose 1-0 away from home, and it's not a result you want.
It's another opportunity or another chance. So they came off the midweek win over Chelsea, which everybody was like, hey, we're really, really good.
Yeah.
And then they go away and lose at Bournemouth, where once again they score fewer than one or fewer goals, held scoreless. Could have been worse for United. De Gea had a great save off of Callum Wilson late. But look, this is a strange United team. They are now sitting 10th with 13 points. Meanwhile, Bournemouth move up to 7th on 16 points. We'll talk about the table a little bit later, but this is an all-time worst start for United. Here's the last four managers, including Solskjaer, their kind of overall win rates. Mourinho at 54%, Van Gaal 51%, David Moyes 50%, followed in fourth by Ole Gunnar Solskjaer at 47%.
Yeah, I mean, still a small sample size of games for him, so one win for him would improve that by a good solid percentage points, but at the same time, that's not good. They've lost a lot of games, and it's not that they're drawing or they're getting scrappy results. Like you look at Arsenal, their managers or their fans are upset at their manager because they're not good performances, but they're getting results. United just aren't getting results,
Yep.
and the performances aren't good. When those are combined, you begin to have a lot more questions for the manager. But not enough credit's been given to Bournemouth. They had a good result, a clean sheet, and honestly, that's solid for them. And you finish, and you end that goalless run that they were having, as you see in the tweet.
Nathaniel Ake, somebody's got to come in for him soon. Obviously, he came from Chelsea, yet another
I believe he
Chelsea
has a buyback
product.
clause, actually, for Chelsea, for about $40 million, I think.
That would be brilliant. I wonder if can they go around the transfer
I
ban
believe
for
so, but
buybacks?
I think that he's a guy they're probably eyeing, that they could use another center back. He's young, it's cheap compared to how much he'd be in the open market. Makes sense for them, but for Bournemouth, he's killing it right now.
The huge 3 points for them. They're next away to Newcastle. Meanwhile, Man United hope to get healthy home to Brighton, which we'll talk about both those clubs here in a minute. On to Arsenal and Wolves, which ended as a 1-1 draw.
It was bad.
Wolves have won 2 matches, lost 2 matches, drawn 7 matches this year,
Yeah, they
which is
cannot
nuts.
get over that needle. Like, they were just on, they could not get to either side of it. And the thing that I see from Arsenal on their side of things, when they take a lead, a lot of sides can look confident. Some sides can look a little shaky. Some sides will try and keep the pressure up to avoid showing any fragilities. Arsenal struggle with a lead, and it is a stunning thing to see that they are not able to close games out. They're not able to dominate, especially at home. You give up a 2-goal lead against Crystal Palace. You give up a 1-goal lead against Wolves. Those are sides you should be putting away, in all honesty. No disrespect to either of them. They're both doing, I say both doing, but Crystal Palace have been doing really well this year. Wolves have been doing moderately okay this year.
Better in Europe
Exactly.
than they've been doing in the Premier
They're a
League.
European team, and they have dropped points needlessly from winning positions, and that's not what you like to see.
Yeah, this is Emery squarely on the hot seat. There's just a lot of angst directed towards him. They've got the whole Xhaka situation as well. But John Cross here, indicating that Arsenal are determined to give him every opportunity to succeed. He later went on television and said he thinks that Emery is done at the club. There's rumors that Mourinho was dining with club brass throughout the week, which Arsenal strongly deny. But they're a mess, but they're fifth place. So you said it earlier on, they're not playing good games, but they're getting results. They're grinding them out. They sit in fifth place on 17 points. Wolves, 11th place, 13 points. Next, Arsenal are away to Leicester, which is going to be a real tough test for them. Really tough. Meanwhile, Wolves will be home to Villa, which should be an interesting match. Just a good old Birmingham derby, if you will, even though Wolverhampton is slightly outside.
Speaking of Villa.
Yes, Villa home to Liverpool. Liverpool leaving it very, very late. Some insane statistics here. Liverpool taking it 2-1. Unbeaten in 7 matches where they've conceded the first goal, winning a league-leading 10 points from losing positions. And they've scored, since the beginning of 18-19, they've scored 23 goals in the last 10 minutes of play, which is a crazy number.
That's a stunning stat, honestly. Because they don't die. They're mentality kings, is how Klopp likes to put them. And the picture of Mane getting kicked in the head as he's going for it. Pep called him a diver, but I don't think you see your prototypical diver going in for a header like that to win you a game in the 94th minute. And the never say die attitude, I think that there is very, very small selection of clubs in Europe where you can get to the dying moments of a game when you're losing, you're drawing, and you have belief that they're going to be able to push it over the top. Liverpool, because of their history with them, especially Barcelona last year in that second leg, coming back from an improbable 3-0 deficit. You look at it and you say Liverpool have that mentality, and yeah, they haven't had a good performance in a while, and that's a downside for them, because if you want to be champions, you should be able to dominate some sides. You should be able to make it a comfortable match. You shouldn't leave it to 2 late headers from Robertson and Mane to eventually win you this match. But you got the 3 points, honestly, and you're on 31 out of 33 points. If you offered Klopp those points at the beginning of the season, he would have taken them every day of the week and twice on Sundays.
All day, every day, 100%. Lallana had comments about it. He says there's this sixth sense about the club where they just have that confidence late in the match that they're going to figure out a way. Sooner or later, it's going to catch up to them. There's no way they can. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think they can keep this up. United had Fergie time throughout the 25 years of his reign there. They're calling this Klopp o'clock, which I thought was interesting. But again, I don't know that it's sustainable throughout the entirety of the season,
to say the least.
All right, moving on to Brighton, home to Norwich. 2 second-half goals, both from substitute, Trossard and Duffy, allowing Brighton to come away with the full 3 points. The quote here from Andy Naylor: so who thought that after 11 games you would see six games that Brighton didn't win, but they'd be above Spurs, Man United, Everton, Wolves, but behind Sheffield United, who sit in 6th place. We'll talk about them here in a minute.
The craziness of the league right now, because the teams that you expect to be doing well, the historical teams, are struggling. The newcomers are doing well. There are upsets left, right, and center. And then at the top, you still have Liverpool and City, just kind of chilling up there.
Brighton are playing really, really well, much better than they had been under previous management. They next are away at United, and we talked about United maybe getting healthy against them, but Brighton play like they've been playing. They're going to give United everything they can.
Battle, Brighton and Hove Albion and Manchester United. You always expect to see that.
So Brighton 8th on 15 points, Norwich 19th on 7. They are next home to Watford, winless Watford, honestly. Who are bottom of the table with 5 points.
6-pointer. You need to keep Watford below you, because every team that you can say they're going to be below us in the relegation battle is one more than 0, if that makes sense. And so you're going to want to be able to get those 3 points at home against the worst team in the league. You can't do that. There are going to be serious question marks raised about Norwich, in my opinion.
Well, again, they have just been so injured, and they've got the two big wins. But I agree, that's going to be it's going to be an interesting matchup. I don't. It's home against Ashford. I agree. They've got to figure out a way to take those points. On to Man City, home to Southampton. Man City have not looked good at home recently.
Yeah.
Took, again, 2 second-half goals. Kyle Walker late, not as late as Liverpool, but both these clubs are winning matches late. Southampton were ahead within the first 10 or 15 minutes on the James Ward-Prowse strike. That
terrible for Anderson.
Stones.
Terrible for Anderson.
Because
he had this shot where it kind of bounced in front of him. It was not easy to take in, but he kind of just...
Stuart Armstrong took the shot.
He struggled with it. And it was a bad mistake from Ederson. And it's rare for him. And it was really apparent because of how good he has been in recent weeks. And they're going to want to eliminate any sort of mistake like that against Liverpool in the upcoming week. They take them on at Anfield next weekend. And that's a game where you're going to have no mistakes or you're going to get devoured. But they showed a never say die attitude as well, like Liverpool. And it's interesting seeing fans talking during the game. It's one of the most fascinating things to do on Twitter. Because you see these fans, and Liverpool and City fans have a bit of a rivalry, but they have a bit of a respect for each other for their dominance. And so when they were both losing at halftime, they both said to each other, yeah, we know that we're both losing, but we both know we're going to win. And little did they know, they would both end up winning both of their games.
They took care of business. So in his post-match commentary for the last few weeks, Pep Guardiola can't help himself but talk about Liverpool. Liverpool are in his head living rent-free, as they like to say. But he's now trying to turn this and say, yeah, Liverpool players, they dive a lot, right? And we talked about Mane being tough as nails, taking the foot to the face. But trying to get into their heads, but I don't think it's going to matter.
I think that sometimes dive, it's fair. Honestly, it's the state of football sometimes. But the classic reply whenever Guardiola talks about diving is Raheem Sterling versus Shakhtar Donetsk in the Champions League. He's running down, he's cleaning one-on-one with the goalkeeper. He takes a shot with his left foot, he kicks the ground and falls on his face, and a penalty's called. And so people say, well, diving, there wasn't a dive from Sterling, but it was a blatant non-penalty that you got. And so luck will always go one way, it will always go another way. You got to make your own luck sometimes. And Liverpool do a good job with that, to force games over the edge when maybe they shouldn't get 3 points. But they have had a lot of games this year. I think Leicester, maybe Sheffield United, maybe Spurs, definitely the Villa game where you could argue the other side had a shot because they contained Liverpool and they relied on late goals or maybe lucky goals in order to break through. Especially some of the Spurs game was a bit of a contentious penalty call, and then the Villa game, late goals. People call it lucky, but scoring more goals than your opponent isn't always lucky. Sometimes it's just some talent.
Well, again, the saying about luck is where preparation meets opportunity, right? And both those teams are exceptionally prepared by exceptional managers, right? You see what happened to Niko Kovac at Bayern today, got fired because Pep Guardiola sets the bar so high that whoever follows him wherever he goes has no chance. I shouldn't say has no chance at success, but he's just so good. I mean, here he hasn't had European success, obviously, at City, but
possibility that Guardiola goes to Italy in the next couple of years. That's the next destination in his mind, according to reporters. And so if he does that, I would not be surprised if City take a step backwards, because it'd be a bad time for them in their transitional phase, because they don't have a great youth base. They have a lot of great experienced players. They're
always buying
and
players.
That can come back to haunt you if you have a manager who fails to capitalize the best in your players that you bring in immediately, which Guardiola does a fantastic job with.
Hasenhüttl had some interesting post-match comments. He's like, well, when you frustrate Pep, you know you're doing something right. I think coming off of that 9-0 drubbing against Leicester, Southampton played fantastic match here. Obviously not quite good enough to pull it off. But
also at the Etihad. Yeah,
that's right, back-to-back.
You don't expect wins in those games, so maybe it's good in that regard. But they had good performances, and that's what you really want to see. That you lost both, obviously, so there's a downside there. But you didn't get trounced 9-0 again. So you take your wins where you can get them.
So next up for Southampton, home to Everton. Everton, we'll talk about them at the end of this. It'll be interesting to see which Everton shows up. They've been so inconsistent. And as we mentioned, City traveling next Sunday away to Liverpool, and they will be walking in without Laporte, without Rodri, without Silva, without Sane, without Zinchenko, right? I mean, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
They're so deep, and they score. So this
I'm excited for that one.
yeah, it's gonna be quite the match for sure. All right, Sheffield United home to Burnley, and Sheffield just absolutely dominant. Performance of the season here from @Blades_Mad. They looked great. Just all three coming in the first half, with Lise Mousset getting all 3 assists. Just they looked on fire.
They looked very good. I mean, Burnley they've conceded 9 in the last 3 games, including this one. So they haven't been dominant recently, but they're no pushover,
very leaky,
honestly. And so they will be very, very pleased with this performance because we've talked about Sheffield United. Like, they need these points. You said that phrase several times this year so far. But
and this is coming off the heels of the Arsenal win, right?
16 points. Like, that's stunned me when
6th
they
place.
had 16 points.
6th place.
I'm saying, where did they get these points from? They just kind of snuck up out of nowhere, and they're at 16 points. Now, obviously, that's not going to guarantee safety, obviously. But, I mean, they were one of our favorites to go down, honestly. And so, to see them succeeding already, it's not looking that good right now because with a performance like this, a dominant 3-0 result at home, I mean, you can't compare them on this particular match to City and Liverpool, but both of those sides struggled to get points against sides who you can make arguments that Burnley, are they better than Southampton? Are they better than Aston Villa? I would say yes. And yet, Sheffield United showed dominance in their game.
Great leadership in the club. As far as Burnley go, you mentioned the leakiness, this uncharacteristic for them, and I'm curious if it has something to do with Chris Wood being out, and he'll be back for the Hammers match next week. But a team like Burnley is so reliant on all the players knowing exactly what they need to be doing that when you miss a guy like Chris Wood, even though he's obviously a striker and responsible for a lot of their goal scoring, you lose a player like that who probably does a lot of work that you don't see on the score sheet.
Modern-day football is defending with your attackers and having deep-lying forwards who like to defend, win you the ball back, and then push forward themselves. And without Chris Wood, you lose a reliable goal scorer, so your defense has less faith in your offense's ability to score, as well as the fact that Barnes is not as good as Wood in other aspects of the game as well. And that's the big difference for them right now is they're missing a key player. They're going to struggle a bit.
Yes. Yep. Sheffield United, again, they travel away to Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, where they're catching Spurs at the right time. Don't know what's going to happen with Spurs next up for Burnley. They will be home to a struggling West Ham side, who we're going to talk about here in just a second. So big opportunities for both those clubs to go grab points. And as we say, Sheffield United, they need those points. So let's see what they can do against Spurs away. All right. This West Ham home to Newcastle United. Newcastle coming away with the 3 points. This is a wacky stat courtesy of Sky Sports Statistics. In Newcastle's last 4 matches away in London, 9 points, 8 goals, 3 goals conceded. Their last 4 away games anywhere else, this is the 12 goals conceded, 1.3 goals. They just like going to London.
It's a nice little trip for the players, I guess. They enjoy that. They're a bit more motivated. I have no idea what inspired that stat. Maybe it's just purely random. But it's fascinating to see. And it's
But Newcastle are looking really, really good. Shelvey with a free kick to put them, for the difference maker as West Ham try to come back. West Ham just don't. They've kind of gone. Manuel Pellegrini had a quote afterwards, just saying, "I don't know how we played so bad." They're just kind of a mess. Like, I don't know what's happened to them.
The talent is there, but the overall cohesion and, I guess, motivation to push forward is not. And they're going to win games where they are able to use their quality in dominant areas, but they just don't beat teams who are good structured. And I think Newcastle are a very structured side, but they've been inconsistent as well. I think that Newcastle have This is a big win for them, huge win, because West Ham away is not a result you expect to get points from. And those are just the added points. You put them in your bag and you say, you know, I didn't expect these, but we got them. And we haven't had a good season so far, but we will always take that. And Alan St. Maximin, he's back from injury. He's one of the fastest players that you'll ever see, and he's going to be an added weapon for them. You have multiple goals, a bit too many goals to concede for your liking, but, I mean, what else can you say? 3 points away from home is always good.
Here was the quote. This didn't make the rundown, but the West Ham Way.co.uk came up with this analysis where he's like, starting aside with Zabaleta, Noble, Yarmolenko, and Snodgrass in it is asking for trouble, especially against a side that sit behind the ball and counterattack with pace.
Mm-hmm.
And you mentioned the pace, right? I'm not singling out players. I'm stating collectively you're creating a disastrous situation for yourself. So that's down to Pellegrini. If that, in fact, is that damning, right, and you see it, they can't. The ball gets to midfield, they can't do anything. They got to kick it back. They're very stunted right now in their
versatility in the players that they have and the weapons they can use, where they can beat multiple types of sides. They can play their way, can't really adapt to sides who are able to break around that mold.
Hammers away to Burnley. We talked about that. Burnley needs those points. Newcastle home to Bournemouth. So, again, a lot of these are all 6-pointers that you're talking about here. Even mid-table and bottom end of table. Going to be tough. All right, Watford and Chelsea. Watford losing yet again. Atford, 2-1 home to Chelsea. Tammy Abraham and Christian Pulisic with the goals. Pulisic again, 4 goals in the last 2 matches. Chelsea they look good. There's the late penalty that get Watford a goal.
What I liked about this game from Chelsea's perspective was all of the players are playing with the freedom that confidence and that a lack of pressure brings. And that's a great thing for sides to have, because when you're able to have your guys go out there and trust in the abilities of themselves and their teammates and not worry about any pressures from the fans or the manager, you can really have some good performances, and everyone really is playing well for them. Their midfield duo of Kovacic as well as Jorginho had a dominant midfield duo. Chelsea fans were comparing them to Xavi and Iniesta because they were playing the ball around, using space phenomenally. Not great to use them for their long-term excellence, but for that performance individually, it was fantastic from them.
Sure.
As well as Emerson was doing really well at left back. You had goals from Tammy Abraham, who's just continuing to dominate. You sold Morata for $50 million, and then you're replacing with the £0 million guy, Tammy Abraham. Great business there.
Immediate.
And Eden Hazard, for
better.
his gargantuan sum, cannot be easily replaced and is not replaced by Pulisic. But when he scores goals, he makes that hole of Hazard feel a little smaller, and he makes you feel a little bit better about where the side's going in the future of it, because it's young, it's passionate, they have a manager they believe in, and the fans are finally behind the cause again. I think Chelsea are on a trajectory to be breaking into the top 2 very, very soon. They don't have as much talent, I think, as Spurs or as much as Arsenal, but they definitely have more ability around them and more belief in the manager and a better feel around the club to push them forward right now.
You're 100% right. Lampard he's got a plan and he's executing the plan, whereas Emery does not have the same level of clarity. Late acrobatics from Arrizabalaga to stop the shot from.
Who would you? Of course, exactly the guy you would expect to be shooting your potential game equalizer.
So Foster comes up for the free kick, and nearly gets the equalizer. Chelsea move up to 3rd on 23 points. Watford remain rooted to the bottom of the table, 5 points with their 5 draws. Next up for Watford, again, we talked about they're going away to Norwich. Norwich need to win that match to kind of solidify their season. Watford are done.
The only bright spot for them from this game is they won a penalty from Deulofeu. He scored his first goal of the season. If he kicks in, starts scoring a few goals, maybe you'll get a couple of results here and there. But they got to show a lot more to make me believe that they can stay up this season.
They need 35 points from the remaining 20 or 74% or 73% of the season, right? 35 points. Yeah, is that what you said? To get to that magical 40-point line of safety. I just can't see it happening. Palace home to Leicester, a very quiet game from Palace. You see Leicester just continue to look fantastic. Vardy, the late goal, Soyuncu with the goal early, and City are now solidly up to third place with 23 points. But, this is the quote you found out here. It's like, okay, yeah, you sell Maguire, 80 million, you promote Soyuncu, and they look better defensively, and they're well clear of United.
You are absolutely dancing if you're Leicester right now. You made a ton of money on him. You're going to make a ton more money because everyone loves James Maddison, love Yuri Tielemans, they love Ben Chilwell. They're all young guys. People are saying, they look great. They're a great side. I want them now. So they're going to make 100, 150, 200 million pounds from those players, and they're going to be...
Unless he's able to keep them. You think
I think
Rodgers
there's a
can
possibility that this becomes a top
stays.
7 type of deal, a big 7 if Leicester are able to break in. They're the only team that's won a title that's fresh in many years, and I think if anyone can do it, it's them. They have a great base, a great fan base, and the overall squad that they have is talented, it's behind a good vision, they're entertaining to watch, so they're going to bring in a lot of fans. I would bet you a lot of neutrals love to watch Leicester play, and that's one of the most powerful things to have is when you can bring in the neutral fan.
You're right. They did get cherry picked the last time when they did win the league. They lost Mahrez, right? They lost Conte. I mean, you think about the players that they had. Now they're at City. Now they're at Chelsea. These are top players, and they continue to find them, promote them, get them to play well. It's not just promoting them or finding them or managing it, but it's getting them to play together. And is Rodgers going to stick around? If he is going to stick around, can he keep this team together?
He's the next guy to get pushed up into an Arsenal or a Spurs or a United job, and I wouldn't say he's too far off of that. I think that he should stay at Leicester because I think it's more his forte is sides like that.
I think they can do a lot more. He can do a lot more there. It's way riskier for him to go to an Arsenal or something else, right? Because I agree, this is the right size for him or the right fit for him, and he's a good fit for Leicester. All right, next up for Palace is away to Chelsea. Meanwhile, we talked a little bit about the Leicester home to Arsenal. It's going to be a real showdown to see. Again, we talked about these two clubs just a minute ago. More for the preview show. On to the ugly match of the weekend. This ended horribly. Everton won, Spurs won with the late equalizer from Cenk Tosun, the substitute, on a beautiful ball in from Lucas Digne. Just a lovely little one-timer over the top to the head for Tosun and nestled into the bottom left of the net.
But it was kind of overshadowed. I think that tackle from Son didn't break the ankle of Gomez, but made him lose his balance. He collided with Aurier, and then don't look it up if you haven't seen it. It was brutal to watch. It was one of the worst leg injuries you will see in live sports, and obviously there was devastation from Son because he's one of the nicest guys around, that he caused that in a way, and he was given a red card. I think very unjust. I think the referee saw the ankle injury and overreacted and thought it was more of a leg-breaking tackle.
Martin Atkinson.
And it was not a red.
Not a red.
I think that should be appealed and overturned. But really, it exemplified the match. It was poor. Spurs, you could argue, got robbed of the 2 points because of that red card to Son. But at the same time, they were under a lot of pressure when Gomez got brought down. And you could have questioned that if he doesn't get brought down or if he doesn't get sent off, Everton can still spur on and get past Spurs.
And that was after the beautiful Dele Alli goal that was just from a giveaway by Everton. But a year ago, we were at the reverse of this fixture last year at Goodison Park, where Spurs won 6-2 and just looked unbeatable.
It looked so good.
Like, they looked so good. And a year on, same players can't get out of their own way. I had to stop in the middle of this. We've talked about Spurs and their challenges thus since February, but Arlo White, throughout the course of somewhere in the second half, said, okay, here's how bad it's been for Spurs. 2 wins in 9 points behind last season at the same stage, 11 matches in. From mid-February, they've taken 23 points from 22 matches. The only 2 teams that are worse, Ashford and Brighton. Liverpool, in the meantime, have taken 60 points from the same number of matches, and they've lost 12 of 28 Premier League matches this year. But again, you do feel bad for Son, because your point, it was a bad challenge, not a red card challenge. You see the emotion here from him, because he is, to your point, one of the nicest guys out there. He's a wonderful human being, but I think the challenge is an indicator of the overall frustration in that side. Right? They can't seem to come together as a unit, and they're all making some pretty bad decisions on their own. You know, Aurier has made a lot of bad decisions. Rose has made a lot of bad decisions, and they've just not been able to hang together very well at all. And then, obviously, a very emotional team. Marco Silva with some emotional comments after the match. Here's Fabian Delph just saying, yeah, he's one of our brothers. Our hearts are with him. Pochettino had the same words. It's not the way you want to see the match end.
Not at all.
For sure.
And not a great match, not a great result for either team, honestly. I think they're both kind of disappointed with that, to say the least.
Everton, coming from where they were, getting the point, it's a valuable point for them, leaves Spurs 11th place, 13 points. Everton remain 17th, 11 points. Everton, as we said, next away to Southampton. Spurs home to Sheffield United. We've got a quick look at the table here. Liverpool remain on top, 31 from 33.
Big test for them.
City remains 6 points back. Yep, this next coming weekend is Sunday. Liverpool home at Anfield to City. Meanwhile, Leicester and Chelsea tied on points, but Leicester ahead, courtesy of that 9-0 thrashing of Southampton on goal difference. They probably still would be ahead.
1-0 win there would
be a lot closer.
A 3-goal difference. But you feel a lot better with an 11-goal difference than you do with just a 1.
But just then, all the way down to 8th place, just one win for any of those sides puts them in the top 6.
And
it's crazy. United still there, top.
You think about how bad United have been this year. You said this is a terrible year for them, one of the worst starts of all time. They're a win away from being
33 years.
Worst start in 33 years. Just back there in contention. Just win a couple of games in a row, and you feel much, much better. But this loss to Bournemouth was a devastating one for them.
And that's what's keeping Arsenal's hopes afloat. Is they sit there 5th place. Granted, they're now 6 clear of Chelsea. That's not an insignificant number. That's the same difference between Liverpool and City. Everybody thinks Liverpool's going to run away with it, and that's not true. There's a lot of time left to be played. Bottom half of the table, topped by Wanderers. West Ham have fallen off quite a bit. Spurs, as we talked about, are just adrift. But again, 13 to 11 points from 11th to 17th.
I mean, these sides will say, yeah, it's been bad so far, but it can get better, and there's no reason to be panicking just yet.
One win turns everything around.
That's the mentality.
It's crazy. That'll do it for us. Week 11 wrap up. Please find us on the Twitter at the45. We here would appreciate a like, a comment, or a subscribe, or all three. For Jack, Conrad, this has been the 45. Take care now.